All right, so today we're going to do kind of a different type of video, and I kind of wanted to share just some random thoughts that I had about kind of raising children to really value fitness and actually even become top of the nation, D1 athletes. And I'm going to interview my oldest son. So I want to talk just a little bit about, out of our 12 children, the four that have already graduated high school, all of them were recruited by colleges to do various sports, not the same sport, all different sports, but all of them have continued to stay very active as they could and just really valued fitness and have done really well. So I thought I would share some things that I think actually kind of contributed to that. So also, like, Isaiah wasn't even totally sure that he was going to necessarily make a career out of track in the beginning, because we unfortunately, when he had his like senior year of high school, going into it and then exiting from it, he had a lot of major life things that happened, like his parents getting divorced, his mom getting remarried, and his two sisters getting married, his one sister having a baby, and his family moving completely out of state, and then also had a broken foot, like had a fractured heel for like a year almost in his senior year. And so he had a lot of like major things, and somehow we missed through the cracks, kind of a long story, but he did get recruited for a bunch of for college football as well. And we unfortunately didn't see all those stacks of letters and things and get all those contacts until after he had already signed on with his college for a track and field and kind of made that commitment. It was just fate. I think it's just the way it was supposed to happen. But my point is that, we didn't raise him just to only do one sport his whole life, and same with his siblings either. We kind of just let them explore. And again, we didn't want the sport kind of to consume our lives. So we just kind of gave them a lot of different options and just kind of let them go in what they flowed in pretty well and what they just enjoyed. So Isaiah, what are some of the things that you feel in your childhood and upbringing helped you become the athlete that you are today?
Of course, staying active is something that, as our family, we always did. It was very helpful to sit and, we'd go out and play baseball, or we'd go swimming, or we'd be running around. Like, fitness was something that is always been prioritized throughout my childhood. I'm sure you have your reasons. But I think that helped quite a bit, as well as on the mentality side. How you raised us was to do hard things, and to not let issues and failures get in the way of that. So I remember multiple different times where I would have something that I was struggling with, that I was having difficulty doing, and oftentimes I would fail at it, and you'd sit there and be like, all right, we failed. What can we learn from it? Not, all right, you failed, you're a failure. So just the act of, yes, it's hard, but we're going to do it anyways. And having that build character, that helps tremendously on the side of fitness, staying active. Even with sports, you have off days, just to have the mental fortitude to say, hey, this is hard, but I'm going to do it anyways, because I know that's the correct thing to do. Is very beneficial for an athlete's stance, and I think beneficial for everyone regardless.
A lot of kids can be raised in sports their whole life, but then never actually make it, in the top of the nation for sure, but definitely not as a top athlete. I definitely think, I think the difference between a good athlete and a great athlete is mindset. So I definitely, one of the things that I really focus on with children is really focusing on character development and, having them do hard things. I would often have my kids do things where it was probably a little bit beyond their developmental level. It would really push them. I knew it would almost seem like it's kind of impossible for them to do, but I would make it just so it's just barely out of their reach, so that I knew that they could accomplish it. And that way, when they were, they completed. I remember I got this composter one time when you guys were like 10 years old, and the box said, or you were 10 years old, Isaiah. And the box said like took 2 adults to assemble it. And, Malachi's younger than Isaiah. I think he was maybe like 9. And I'm like, all right, boys, I have a project for you. And, they're like, Mom, this says takes 2 adults to put that together. I'm like, yeah, you got that. And, took them a little while. They might have needed a little help in between, but, they eventually got it done. And that was something they accomplished. I was always trying to like push them to do just a little bit beyond what they probably were capable, seemingly capable of doing. Growing up, I thought it was really important to not have sports like consume our lives. So even though I kept us all very active, like we'd be, like you said, we'd be hiking, biking, we'd be doing all kinds of stuff active. So it's like kind of a big social thing, but I didn't want our sports to consume our lives. I wanted sports to be a part of our lives, and just enhance our lives. So it's not like, I didn't want us being every night at dinner time, we'd be going to different sports or, soccer 3 times a week. And then on the weekends, not shaming anyone that does that, but I just did not want that for our family. I did not want that to be the top thing of importance for us. And so I just wanted to encourage parents out there that are watching this that, you can have really good athletic children that choose to, are able to even do sports in college and beyond. And you don't have to have your lives completely consumed by sports. So I feel like mental health is a big deal for our society just today. I don't know if it's more than it ever was before, but it definitely seems to be more in the forefront and addressed more. Maybe it's because of all the stuff we're exposed to, but a lot of people are on antidepressants being this thing. Actually, there's lots of documented articles that talk about antidepressants versus exercise. They can be swapped out literally 1 for 1. Exercise is that effective at kind of bringing up your mood and helping balance that out. And so I want my children to always know that can help bring them out of kind of like a dark place, like if they're struggling with something or, mentally they're having some issues, I definitely wouldn't want to be putting them on drugs, to like help that stuff out. And so a lot of times, like when Isaiah was a kid, I would have him go run laps or, I'd have him come outside. All right, buddy, let's come outside for a little bit. We're going to jump on the trampoline for 20 minutes. Then we'll go back in and do math or whatever it was. And sometimes, he'd get in trouble and have to go run laps.
I remember those laps. And actually the funny thing about it is it was supposed to be getting me in trouble, but oftentimes it was something that I enjoyed doing, which now we see I do it as basically a career. Not technically yet, but yeah.
Getting
Getting there. But different things like what you were saying, going out and running. There's actually what is it, an endorphin that gets released, or you release endorphins after running, after a set amount of cardio. Your heart produces a protein that is not produced any other time in your body at all, unless you have a cardio rate or a heart rate that's been elevated for a longer period of time. I believe it's 30 minutes. So oftentimes I'd be running those laps and we get to the 30-minute point. And when that protein gets released, then a whole bunch of endorphins, dopamine get released with it. And you get what we like to call a runner's high. So I remember oftentimes you'd have me running laps, and then you'd be like, all right, you're good, come in. I'll be like, Mom, can I run one more? Just because I was having those endorphins, I was having that dopamine release. And so I think that's actually a huge part of the mental health aspect is when you're getting out and you're exercising, your body is able to run more efficiently because humans, we weren't designed to sit around all day. We were designed to be hunters, gatherers, homemakers. And so for a human body to just sit and do nothing for long periods of time, it's incredibly unhealthy for us. So oftentimes, even now, I'll have like a bad day. I'm feeling bad. I feel sick. I don't know. I feel sluggish. the thing that usually helps is going out for a long run. And I'll do the long run, say I'm having digestive issues, cleans it up right away. If I'm feeling drowsy, then I'm wide awake, you know. So just different things like that. I feel like it's a huge part of helping me grow, not only as an athlete, but as a person to just sit and be active.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I'm active and working out a lot and staying fit, I find it's like easier for me to eat healthy for some reason. Whereas when I'm like down and kind of depressed and not moving a whole lot, it's just so much easier to just grab that bowl of ice cream and those cookies instead of, the things that I probably should. And I have noticed that that your sisters do the same thing. Like I can definitely tell. I mean, they don't necessarily go for runs like you do when they get stressed out, but they're in the gym more when they're going through stressful periods as well. So I noticed that they use that as a tool for their health too. But I wanted you to real quick before we go talk about kind of the difference. I remember you talking to me about the difference that you see in a lot of your fellow team members and kind of like, just their upbringing versus yours and kind of the difference that you see out on the field.
Yeah, well, it's quite interesting because I'm unlike a lot of my teammates, um, and the aspect that not only am I doing this for a potential career in it versus a lot of them who are just there because it's free school, but also just how their mindset is when coming into practice. A lot of times there's a very um, entitled aspect to it. So different things like with track meets, if coach doesn't get the right amount of X, Y, or Z, or he gets the wrong food or something that they don't like, they get very distraught and upset. And, oh my gosh, how could you get this all wrong? And oftentimes it's just because everything's kind of been handed to them when they're growing up. Like I'm one of the only people on my team. I say that there could be other people that just haven't spoken about it, but one of the only people who is not only paying for my own college, but I also pay for my own car, pay for my own phone, pay for insurance, all that fun stuff. When a lot of times these kids they just have everything handed to them. So I think that creates this mindset of it'll just come to me versus going out and just working for it. And you can see that on the track, you can see that in the classroom. Just the mindset of if I don't do this, there's not that big of a consequence versus taking responsibility for your own actions and having the integrity to get what you need to do done. So that happens very, very commonly throughout while running workouts on the track to a track meet and people don't want to do the 4x4 to grades that are, not the best to look at on a report card. So that's really probably the biggest thing that I see as a difference is just the mentality of coming into it as this is mine, I should have it. I deserve it versus I'm going to work hard because I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
That's good. Thanks for sharing that. So to kind of recap, a lot of what we did growing up for you was probably had a lot to do with mindset, a lot to do with doing hard things, but also we just stayed super active and made it fun. So you talked before about how like some of your fellow athletes kind of would get burnt out because they had like a lot of pressure put on them and stuff. But for you just said that, it was just kind of fun, and it was like, it's kind of something that we do all together. Like when we get even when we get together, we're in the gym together or we're doing stuff together. Well, thank you all for joining us today. And thank you, Isaiah, for your feedback and input, and good luck at your meet this weekend, decathlon that you're doing in Dallas. And for those of you that want a little bit more, just kind of another layer of, I was always reading books and finding out more information. And, one of the things that I found when he was younger was a book called The 7 Habits of Effective Teens. And that's a really good read and has a lot of really interesting pointers. So you could check that out. And if you have any other topics that you want us to talk about, drop it in the comments and we can make a video on that.